So you like your controller with large keycaps, nice spacing, and custom switches? Then you'll like the MyTrix M16. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have the MyTrix GP016. This is their 16-button leverless controller. I picked this up off of Amazon, so let's take a look and see what we got. So when we open the box, we have our USB-C to USB cable here. We have our user manual. We have our extra keycaps. We have our extra switches and switch puller. And here's our controller. So here we have the MyTrix leverless controller. So when we go around this box, we can see here on the bottom there's nothing. On the left-hand side there's nothing. On the right-hand side there's nothing. On the top you have your pass-through port and your power. I like to put my cable manager right here on the top. When you go around the controller, you see you have your screen here on the top. You have all of your action buttons, your home and start to activate the controller. You have your large 16 buttons across the whole pad. You have all your buttons labeled and laid out there and the logo here in the bottom. When you take this apart, there are two plastic layers in here. So the first plastic layer is like a clear coat, and the second plastic layer is this artwork design here. So you can take all this art out and put your own custom artwork inside and have no issues. When you're using this controller, you can see it's an acrylic base here, and it does have a slope down here in the bottom to easily rest your wrist down there. All the spacing is really wide. The buttons are large, so I like that a lot. These button heres are not your classic Hale Reds. These are a different, it says Gateron, but when I went to find replacements, these are actually an OUTEMU. So here are their stock switches, and I swapped these out for the black switches. So this controller comes with 16 buttons. You have your large buttons all across with very nice spacing in between each key. And the keycaps that come with this controller, your standard V2 plus sign keycaps, they are a little bit tighter. So when you put these on, the fit is a little different. So the aftermarket keycaps may not fit when you try to install them on here. So you may be limited to just using the stock keycaps that come with this controller. So when it comes to customizations, you can add artwork here. I'm sure you could probably find a template, just cut out yourself. But again, you are pretty much using what was sent to you. This controller does come with GB2040 CE, so you are able to do all the custom colors and lighting as you would with any other controller from any other brand, and that's a really nice feature. And next we have the paper test. We take a standard piece of American printer paper. We're gonna turn this sideways and we lay it on top here. You can see this controller is as wide as this metal piece to the two lines there. This controller is as tall as the metal piece on the adapter here. Now, why would you do this? If you're at home and wondering how big this is, take a piece of paper, play with it just like this on your lap and on your desk, and that'll let you know what this will feel like in real life. When connected to your console, for Xbox, you will use the Brooks XB3, the Mayflash Magic X, or the Magic Boot for Xbox. For PlayStation 5, you'll use the Brooks Wingman FGC, the Mayflash Magic S Ultimate, the Mayflash Magic Boot, the Hot 42 Cosmox Booter 5, or the AllFightSticks.com adapter. So to connect to your console, you'll take your adapter, connect to the end of the cord, plug this into your console, this to the top of the controller, and you'll press the home and start button and you'll be all set. Using the pass-through port here on the top, you'll connect this into your console. You'll connect this into your power. You'll make sure that you're in the PS5 or Xbox One mode, press home, press start, and you'll be all set. So what do I think of this controller? I like the button cap size, I like the button spacing. It feels a lot like a Hot 42T. This button here may be slightly higher from what I can tell, and it all just feels very familiar when you use this controller. The reds that come in here feel very similar to a KO Red. There are not many upgrade options for what I could find. Again, I found the blacks, but anything else I really couldn't find to put on here. The description states these are Gateron low profiles. I have Gateron low profiles. When I went to install them on here, they do not fit. So these are a different type of switch. And again, I had to kind of look around and dig and do my research to find out the switch that I used on this controller. So I'll put those in the description. This controller, given the build, it is an acrylic build with plastic as well. This controller creaks a lot. I mean, there's other controllers that creak as well, but this one you will notice when you're playing or holding it or carrying it, every time you grab it, it will creak. Using the controller, when it was connected, I can kind of see light glowing off from the bottom edges here. I loosen the screws, retighten them, and still you can see the glowing in different parts where your screws are tied in. You'll kind of see the board glowing. So this is definitely in your more affordable version of leverless controllers. So let's get some things on the table and compare. So here we have the dual pad C12. This is in your smaller category, this is in your large category. Both of these are entry-level pads. If you've never used a leverless before and you're trying to figure out if this is something I want to do, I recommend the C12 to everyone or the Hot 42S or P because the price is so good. This is the most affordable, so this is the one I'm showing here. This pad has all small buttons across the top and one large on the bottom. Your screen and your action buttons very similar to this. This is a pass-through port, this does not, but they both have their power port on the top. When it comes to the two, if you're looking at affordability and just trying things out, I would recommend the C12 because the price is cheaper and it feels a little bit built better. Even though the frame is 3D printed, the insides feel sturdy, has all your grip and things on it, so it feels better built than this pad here. But if you want the larger button spacing, you want to try things out, then you would give this a shot. And here we have the dual pad A16. When you compare the two, they are roughly the same size. The A16 is barely taller and barely wider than this pad here. The build quality is a lot better on the A16. The spacing is slightly tighter than this pad here. This pad has a pass-through port on the top. The pass-through port is on the side. This pad has one power port on the top. This pad has one on top. They both have their screen and their action buttons to press home and start to activate the controller. They both have large buttons across the whole pad. And if you're looking for an entry-level large controller, these two are essentially the same price. I would point you towards the dual pad A16. It does have action buttons and physical switches up here on the top where you can change your tournament mode, your SOCD, your directionals, all with the physical switch. And the bigger thing is the build quality. This is built better than this controller here for roughly the same price. Here we have the Hot 42 T16. Comparing these two, I would push you towards the Hot 42 T16. All acrylic controllers creak in one way or another, but this controller creaks a lot compared to the T16. As far as the button cap size and spacing, they are very similar. When you look at the description for this controller, it has Hot 42 in the name. So I'm pretty sure they were going after this design just with their own form factor. I love the design here, but when you're using the two, they both have power ports on the top. The pass-through port here is on the top, which I really like. The pass port is here on the side. The bottom here does slope off nice and smooth. This is just a flat top, but this controller does offer many more switch options with the KLV2s compared to this controller, essentially with, from what I can find, only one option to switch from red to black in that single model. And with the price, depending on the day, this may be $10 more or less than this one, but this is just a better buy than this pad here. So that's the MyTrix 016 GP leverless controller. I love the spacing. I love the large button keycaps. I personally wish they would have put Kales on here or regular Gatorons instead of these switches they put on here. There's not a lot of options to change the feel of this controller. I can tell by feeling this was made to be a starter controller, right? But for the price, you can get something better quality for about 10 bucks more when it comes to the dual pad A14 or A16 or the Hot 42T. And I love the spacing and the keycaps. It felt very comfortable. It does creak a lot. It does make you feel as though it may not last very long. And for the price, if you're just trying to try out a leverless controller, the dual pad C12 is $30, 35 bucks. It's so much cheaper to dive in and see if there's something you like. And then if this was maybe 45, this would be a good way to say, do I like a small dual pad C12 or the large MyTrix, GP16? And that way you get your larger keycaps, your larger spacing. You get a feel for what the bigger pads feel like and what the small pads feel like for about the same price. But for 70, this is not as good as your other options. So I would recommend something else. But if this is all you can afford, this is all you can find in your area, you will have a good time with this. Personally, again, I swapped out for the blacks just for a little better feel, but the reds feel just like any other reds feel. The controller is large enough to fit on your lap. It has the pass-through port, which is really nice. It has your power port here. It has, again, the large keycaps and spacing. So it has things, it has a screen, which is very nice. So this to me feels like a version 1. So what would I want in version 2? I want to keep everything the way it's designed right now. Change the switches out for Kales or true Gatorons, or allow them to use both Gatorons and Kales. Leave the large keycaps, leave the large spacing, the screen, everything else is fine. If you can, add another USB-C port on one of these sides here, the port is the first thing to go in every controller. So if you have an extra one, that'd be really nice, and better build quality. So, the bottom hopefully doesn't creak as much, and when you're putting your screws in, it won't glow, making you feel as though you're sandwiching the controller board and maybe breaking something. You really can't tell, but it makes you feel uncomfortable. So again, if you're in the store, this is all you can find. You will be fine with this controller. It is a good starting point. Do not expect it to last long the way it feels, but it will be fine. But if you're looking into ordering online and having it shipped to you, the dual pad A14, A16, the Hot 42 T16, there are other options that are better when it comes to features and build quality than this controller here. So that's the MyTrix. Thanks for watching. Bye.